Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Steven Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, that's Steven Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. We are joined by a very special guest, as he is every single end of the month out here promoting Pro Wrestling Symphony. Connor Casey, the lovely, the great Connor Casey. How you doing, Connor?
I'm good, man. This is the first time I have been on camera since my honeymoon. I look like a caveman or Daniel Bryan in one of his odd transition phases. So yeah. I'm trying to avoid looking at myself on the feed right now.
It's always Michael C. Hall. This is your Michael C. Hall in when he's in the cabin and he's the lumberjack at the end of the original series finale, and then they did Redemption and New Blood and Resurrection and all that stuff. So I can't keep up with all.
I used to love being compared to Dexter, and then the reboots kept happening.
The latest one I hear is very good, though. I liked the I have not watched. I think the latest one's Resurrection. I watched the one where it's like his son, or no, it's not his son. I think this one is like his son. I watched. I think it was New Blood. I like that one. That came out in 2021. I thought that was really good. So I don't think that's a terrible thing to be compared to. Like Dexter has come around to where. Yeah, maybe at the end of the original, it was like, yeah, this show sucks. But now, like, the reboots have actually, like, given it new life of, like, oh, no, this show's actually really good. So you should own that one again.
I just might.
Jensen, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. No knowledge of Dexter or any of the reboots. But I'm doing good. Happy to have Connor on again. We were talking, pre-show about some stuff that I also don't want to forget to bring up again because some good dark match conversation going on before we went live today. But Connor was telling us, you had quite the last week or so. Connor's he lives in Nashville, for those of you who don't know, and that of course is where Pro Wrestling Symphony is located for these events as well. And the city of Nashville had like the most outages in like the entire country during these storms and stuff. And Connor, if you'd like to tell us kind of what you've been going through recently, kind of leading into this weekend in Pro Wrestling Symphony.
Right. My heart goes out to the over 200,000 people who lost power. I was not one of them because I was not here in the country all of last week. It was actually my honeymoon. My lovely wife, Jessica, we took a Caribbean cruise. It was fantastic. Come back this past Sunday only to learn that, hey, every flight trying to get out of Florida is canceled right now. And that started what wound up being a 3-day ordeal where I finally just grabbed a rental car and just indie wrestled my way through 900 miles of a straight shot from Miami Beach back to my home in Nashville, Tennessee. That was quite a trip. But thankfully we're home, we're safe. We didn't lose power, thankfully. No tree fell on our house. If you've seen anything from Nashville this past week, you've seen a lot of damage from this ice. I'll just say there's plenty of companies and charities that are going right now to help folks. I know visit musiccity.com is probably the best one. If you can help, a lot of folks need it. And I'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna say I'm glad you're home safe. Glad everything worked out. And
yes.
we had, I was saying off air, we had like 14 inches of snow, so we got a lot. But fortunately, no one, at least in our area, lost power. I'm sure like across various parts of Ohio, there were people who lost power, but no one in our area, fortunately, lost power. Jensen got off scot-free.
I did. Yeah, I got off. It didn't. I mean, I don't want to. People are really going through it. Like because of this, I'm not trying to make light of like the people who are dealing with the ramifications of the storm and everything. But yes, here where I live in Atlanta, they talked a lot about how bad it was going to be, and then like nothing happened pretty much. So I really did get lucky, but yeah, I have a lot of friends. I lived in Nashville for like a decade, so I do have a lot of friends there, and most of the people I talked to did lose power, and most of them were like staying with their parents or family members or something in the meantime. And it's like broken up some of the families too. Like it's sad to say, like I know like some like a friend of mine who's married and has a few kids, like there's not enough room in like their parents' house for like the whole family, so they had to like split up and stay at like multiple families to kind of rotate and stuff and deal with the weather. So I mean, yeah, definitely. If you can help the city, the people in Nashville, definitely do. I've got a lot of love for Nashville, and I've got a love for Nashville professional wrestling, which is on a positive note here, going down. You want some electricity in Nashville? Come out to Pro Wrestling Symphony, because they're going to be bringing the heat. Look at this. I saw it off air. We have the official championship. Connor, please tell us about this beautiful title.
This is the Pro Wrestling Symphony Men's Championship, brought to you by the lovely folks over at Hellfire Designs over in Scotland. They did a fantastic job. Shout out to Craig. Did a fantastic job making our men's, women's, and tag team championships. And we crown our men's champion this Sunday with the semifinals and finals of our inaugural championship tournament. We got Colby Carter taking on Tim Bosby, and Adrian Thomas taking on Shane Mercer. And those are the final 4 men left standing. And then elsewhere on the show, we've got WWE Women's ID Champion Lainey Luck in tag team action with Shazza McKenzie. We've got Alexis Littlefoot and Storm Garcon making their debut as a tag team. Jake Painter and Javen Myra are back in action, and Jameson Shook, reigning TWE champion, taking on the Chicano Kid Alejandro. Alejandro's proclaimed 2026 as his revenge tour. He's taking a page out of Liv Morgan's book, and it starts with Shook, so this is going to be fun.
I'm excited for this show. Is this going to be like? I know last time we couldn't watch live on IWTV, but of course it aired. Then you put your matches up on YouTube as well. How can we consume this show as fans?
Will not be live only because of certain restrictions with the venue and the inability to stream out of it. We're at East Side Bowl over in East Nashville. You good, Jeremy?
Jeremy forgot how to drink real quick. Oh man, I hope he's okay.
Don't time me, mate. It's on IWTV. It'll go up a couple of days after. So we recommend you be there live because everything will be revealed on social media and in press releases. But if you want to watch it, I highly suggest staying tuned to IWTV as Jeremy finally slowly recovers. Rooting for you.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I think he's gonna make it. His wife watches the show usually, so she's probably there monitoring just in case. I think he's okay. We got the thumbs up. Okay.
I just know Joe Pearl is somewhere going, drink much.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that's funny. Well, as I was talking to you about this before we went live, for all of you who are watching this show, and by the way, anyone here live, we appreciate you as always. If you want to leave comments, please do. Any super chats, we'll put them on the screen. We'll address those as well, of course. But if you're watching this and you want to jump over to the YouTube channel and get caught up on Pro Wrestling Symphony, you guys have recently put up compilation packages for people you just mentioned that are going to be in the semifinals and the finals of the title tournament. So as fans, I want to say I appreciate that you did that, and you also put up I was on there the other day. You put up a compilation of like everything you guys have done up to this point as well, so like people can get a full start to finish, get completely caught up on Pro Wrestling Symphony on YouTube now. Yeah,
we've tried to be as comprehensive over there as possible, and part of sorry, I've gotten alerts for other things. One sec, fellas.
It's okay. I got an alert from Jeremy's wife confirming that she's there and that she's making sure Jeremy's safe. So
yes, I am not dead.
Okay, very good.
I'll real quickly explain. Sorry to cut you off, Connor. So this cup, I love it. Shout out to Andrew Thompson who got me this cup for my birthday. Like if the straw is off balance, like you have to really like suck to get it in to get the water out.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and then it just hit me wrong, and so yeah, so I had to just fix the straw, and it's
Sorry,
fine
brother.
now. Sorry, I'm alive though. Go ahead.
It's cool. Using straws is tough, man. We're like 37. It's all good.
Shut up.
Harsh, man. Harsh. But Jensen, to your point, we try everything we can to, if you're not able to make the shows, to be able to have some way of watching the event. And I shout out to my guy, Pat Dooley, for overseeing the YouTube uploads. He was the one behind the big 12-hour, hey, here's everything we did in 2025 that went up. And then he was also in charge of the compilations, which I'm really happy with how those turned out. So that if you haven't been following along and you want to know how did Colby, Bosby, Mercer, and Adrian all get here, now you can find out pretty quickly.
Are you excited that this tournament is finally over, Connor? I know last time we had you on, you're like, yeah, booking tournaments. Don't know if we'll do that again.
We won't do that again, and I'm very happy it's ending because not only doing the one, but then trying to do a men's and women's simultaneously, ending on different days. If I could, I'd go back to me in August and slap younger me upside the head and say, "Do it in one night, make your life easier."
We were talking off air about this. I didn't want to forget to bring this up as well about the last time you were on the show. We had talked about how I had asked you like if you had been talking to any other like of the indie promoters in the area, specifically like TWE Action, so on and so forth in the Southeast. And you were telling me, I don't know how much you can say like on air on the record right now, but like how much can you speak? Because I know that you have talked to them since, and you may have some cool stuff in the works.
Yeah, it hasn't been officially announced yet. I'll save it for the announcement, but there will be a collab show coming up in April. It's not WrestleMania weekend. We love what those guys are doing. We're not involved in that. But some of the other major promotions in the South will be coming to Nashville for a special event in April. And I will leave it at that. And we'll stay tuned on a PW Symphony Live on all social media networks to see what that's all about. And that'll be coming here in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Awesome.
Make sure you DM me the scoop so I can pre-write the story.
Everything.
There you go. And that's tied in, TWE, Jade Newman, somebody who had been working Pro Wrestling Symphony shows. You had told me that he's someone, obviously he's out with injury. We hope he gets, back in action. He'll be back better than ever when he comes back. And no doubt about that. Big Jade Newman guy over here. But I know he's helped, obviously with TWE, he runs that school and that promotion, so on and so forth. You had mentioned to me that Jaden, along with others, you guys actually have match producers for your matches. I don't know how common that is across the indies. It's actually something I've never really talked much about with promoters, to be honest. Can you speak kind of to that and the, I guess, like the advantages, how that's been having people like Jaden, or if you wanted to, name anyone else who's been helping behind the scenes, like produce matches for Pro Wrestling Symphony with you guys?
For sure. The idea to have agents at our shows, it wasn't something myself, Pat, or Rory, the other founders, it wasn't something that any of us had experienced directly on other shows in the area. It was more about, we were trying to find different ways to be professional. And we knew that if you were a major promotion with a TV deal, you had at least one agent helping every wrestler before they're going out there, knowing what to do, talking amongst each other so that finishes aren't getting repeated, the same moves aren't getting used over and over, that sort of thing. And we thought, this is a pretty cheap and effective way to help us stand out, not just in the product, but with the boys and girls backstage. Because if you show up to an indie event, they're like, hey, here's your agent, talk with them. They're like, wait, what? Seriously? We have this? This is great. And it's led to some pretty awesome ideas and some great matches as a result. Aiden's played a big part in it. As soon as we brought him in, we asked, and he stepped right up and was like, absolutely, bring it on. He's worked a couple of shows as an agent that wasn't working as a wrestler. And that blew me away because a guy like him, I would think, would just be trying to get as much in-ring work as possible. And he's just like, nope, full professional. Whatever I'm needed for, I'm there. And I love that about him, and I love the attitude. Other guys that have helped, I know I'll forget names, but Jeremiah Plunkett's been our top guy from the start when it comes to backstage agenting. Fantastic encyclopedic mind for the business. And every time we come to him with, okay, we have this idea for the finish, he is able to take whatever goofy idea we have and make perfect sense and translate it into something better. And we always applaud him for that. Dylan Hales, who obviously people know from places like Action. Carrie Awful has stepped in a few times. Wonderful presence backstage. And I'm sure there's a couple of others, but if you have agented a match for us, I cannot thank you enough because it has made our product better, and I know that for a fact. And it's something we're going to keep on doing.
That's a hell of a list. Like Harry Awful did great stuff. And probably I haven't kept up as much in recently, but like with Crux, especially around like the SUP era, a lot of that talent through Crux is like doing really good stuff now. And Dylan Hales, speaking of SUP, like he's SCI, all that stuff. Dylan. I mean, so that's a great list. And Jeremiah Plunkett is like, I know people know him, but like I don't know if people understand, like as like a veteran of like the Southeast, especially, like he's one of the most like underrated, like overlooked guys like ever from this scene. Yeah. So like I think it's really cool that he's being able to use his knowledge from all this time in wrestling to be able to help give back to you guys. That's a hell of a list you just put out there right there. Jeremy, what do you got?
Oh, I was gonna ask if you've had any like bad pitches that you have had to turn down, or it been like, I don't know if we can do it. Maybe you've come up with them yourself, Connor, but I don't know if we can do this.
There's a couple that looking back, I'm like, what the hell were we thinking? None that come to mind. We've had a few where guys will come up to us with ideas like the day of, and we'll just be like, this would be great if you had come to us a week prior, but coming up to us an hour before the show makes this a hell of a lot more difficult. No, I can't think of anything like a super bad pitch. We've I'll say this, every venue we've run so far has had balconies, and without fail, someone pitches. So I jump off the balcony, right? And I'm like, Jesus, because it's not even like, oh, the venue needs to sign off on it. It's the, hey, if there's anyone below you that isn't a wrestler, not happening. Because I know you think you can jump from the balcony to the ring, no problem, and I'm sure you can. But in the 1% chance you can't, I'm not killing one of our fans over it.
I mean, killing the company as well if something like that happens.
Like we have insurance. That's great. We're still done if this happens.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you can't.
If there's a bad idea, it's been that.
I was gonna say you can't book like Matthew Justice or Josh Bishop or some of these guys who are like just notoriously going to jump off it, even like they're going to find a way to jump off of it. No, that's awesome. Another guy who I think was probably asked you to jump off is probably Jameson Shook. He's pretty crazy. I know he's been doing really big things. TWE champ, as you mentioned, and he'll be wrestling this weekend as well. Your thoughts on Jameson Shook? Obviously, he was the tag team champion with Jaden, and with Jaden being out, more on his like singles run right now. But I mean, I think the sky's the limit for that kid.
Yeah, Shook he's impressed me every time he's shown up so far. And when we were looking at TWE, once you got past Jaden, he was the first name that kept popping up of like, oh, this is somebody you really need to take a look at. He's in his early 20s. He can do the crazy death match stuff, or he can just give you a standard match. And and down in Nuga, he's obviously this hometown, homegrown hero that everybody loves. But so effortlessly, he can switch that around and just be this cocky little prick, to where he showed up at our December show and declared himself being in peak physical male condition and proceeded to get the loudest boos of the entire night, which included Shane Mercer hanging Mad Dog Connolly via a chain in the end of a cage match. And Shook is still getting the loudest boos of the night.
That's awesome. Jeremy, I see a question in the chat I want to actually ask. This is a good question. I'm going to bring this up. Cinematics, thank you very much for this question. Connor, if you're able to answer this, it says, sure. Ask about how it's like to have a WWE champion on a show and how they work with WWE program about how the match works. So if you don't mind answering that, that'd be awesome.
So, right. So this is not an ID championship match. So whatever hoops there may be to jump through, there aren't in this situation. Lainey is allowed to take bookings at her leisure like any other wrestler. So us booking her to team with Shaza as the collab didn't have to get an approval from WWE on that. She was able to take the booking, so she took it. If it were a championship match, which we have talked about, won't be happening this time, but hopefully in the future, that does at least require a heads up to, hey, guys, we're going to book this person to defend their title on the show. Is that okay? And they might go, actually, we have them booked for somewhere else, so can't do it. Or, yeah, go right ahead. It's really just a thumbs up or down from somebody in their front office. I think it's Gabe Sapolsky is the name that is pretty much the front facing of the ID program. So conversations are usually with him. But we're not restricted in any way. We're not told, hey, you got to make them look like this, or hey, you got to pay them extra because they're holding their belt. Nothing like that. Obviously when the ID program was launched and announced and the rollout slowly happened, we were one of the many who were like, okay, what is this about? And how does this work? But so far we really haven't had any issues with it. And we're thrilled to have Lainey back for this. We love that her platform has been elevated now as the champion. And we can't wait to keep working with her in the future.
Any fear that someone's gonna shoot and then win the ID title that's been tossed around out there?
If there's a shoot, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I mean, or I'm gonna get a very angry call from a Stanford number going, "What the hell just happened?" I'm like, brother, you tell me.
It'd be like it happened in your company too. Thea Hale wasn't supposed to win that title, Yeah. Shit happens.
It's like, bring Thea Hale down here, have her roll her up, and you'll problem solved.
Look, if Thea Hale comes to one of your shows, I will be there since I'm the biggest Thea Hale mark in the world. So if she's showing up, then yeah, I'm showing up as Fair well. Anything else, Jensen?
No, I appreciate you coming on again, Connor, as always. Like, I love catching up about Pro Wrestling Symphony, seeing what you're up to. Congratulations on, getting married, of course. And, it's too bad that the honeymoon, the chaos afterwards and everything you got to deal with. But
we joke the honeymoon was great. The epilogue, not so much.
Yes, but I'm you're always welcome here, as you know, and please let everybody know if you'd like to plug anything or just tell people where to find everything Pro Wrestling Symphony.
For sure. If you're in the Nashville area and you want to get out of the house because it's been freezing for the past week, maybe you have power, maybe you don't. I can tell you this much: Eastside Bowl does have power, and we are bringing the heat this Sunday with Pro Wrestling Symphony's Sweet Victory. Yes, that is a SpongeBob reference. Thank you for noticing. Bell time is 2:00. Show goes for about 2 hours. We'll have live performances by Echo Pilot. We're crowning our first Pro Wrestling Symphony champion, our first WWE ID champion appearance from Laney Luck in action. After party at Up Down Nashville, over there in East Nashville. And tickets are still available at pwsymphony.com/tickets. And you can follow along on updates. If you're not at the show and you want to see what's happening, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the social medias at PW Symphony Live.
We appreciate you as always, Connor. I do have to give you credit for the SpongeBob reference. I meant to bring that up when we were talking. If Sweet Victory was a SpongeBob, I figured it had to be. I didn't know what else it could be. Are you playing the song, or can you not spoil
that? We'll talk to the band, see what we can do.
Okay. Good luck with everything this weekend, Connor.
See you, fellas.
I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Later.
See you, Connor.
Thanks, buddy. Connor Casey, always a friend
Great
of the
dude.
program. Yeah, I feel bad. He messaged me like maybe a week or so ago, and I didn't see it. And then it just got lost in the shuffle with everything. It's been so hectic and busy with snow days and just preparing for all of that and stuff. So I missed it. And then he messaged me again last night. I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I completely missed your first one. I was like, yeah, of course you're welcome to join the show. So glad he was able to come by and promote Pro Wrestling Symphony.
Yeah, it worked out great. I mean, he's always welcome to come on. Beginning of the month, they didn't run a show like the beginning of January, so you know what I mean. So like, he wasn't on. So it's actually been a minute since he had been on the show. But as I was telling him before we went live, I mentioned it while we were live as well. But it's really helpful for anybody who is watching these interviews that wants to get into the Pro Wrestling Symphony. Like their YouTube channel is great for that because literally everything is there. Like it's all free. So, I was catching up on some stuff, before we did our interview today, and I was like, man, this is awesome. This is very, very easy to find everything. If you want to know about the title tournaments, if you want to know about the entire history of the company, it's all right there. So kudos to them. Happy that they're doing good. I love seeing Nashville wrestling succeed. For sure.
And yeah, they've been running for what's it been now? 7 months, I think, right? 7-8 months. They've been doing.
Gotta be something like I was gonna ballpark that it probably around. I was gonna guess around a year or so. Maybe not quite a year, but
yeah, I feel like it was like after April, like May or June when they started. I could be wrong. Connor's gonna, if he's still watching, he can let me know. He can yell at me. I can just go back and like look, but I'm trying to rely on my memory, which my memory is god awful. So that's probably the last thing I should rely on.
Well, I'll tell y'all what. Speaking of Pro Wrestling Symphony, I will. I can't guarantee anything, obviously, but between myself, you, and having the connection with Connor, I'll try to get whoever wins the Pro Wrestling Symphony Championship. We'll try to get them next week or the week after here on the show. Over the next 2 weeks or so, we'll try to interview the champion. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure we can make that happen. Yeah, between knowing Connor and then just one of us reaching out and setting things up, I'm sure we could easily make that happen. All right, Jensen. Anything you want to talk about before we get into professional wrestling?
One thing real quick, we won't elaborate on it because I know you guys want to hear us talk about pro wrestling, and I want to talk about pro wrestling as well, but we do talk sports here on the show. We can skip the Super Bowl talk and stuff until next week, but I did want to bring up the big topic in sports and just say the Bill Belichick not getting the Hall of Fame thing is crazy. I can't believe that. I mean, I know his legacy recently, he hasn't looked great, and there's reasons to dislike him and stuff like that. But you can't take away the dude winning 8 Super Bowls, 6 as a head coach, and everything he contributed. Even as a general manager alone, he had enough to get into the Hall of Fame. And so as a GM and a head coach, it's just crazy that the reason it bothers me is because you can't because the people choosing for him not to get in for the most part are probably journalists or people he had bad relationships with in the media over the years. And as somebody who's kind of in the media, like what we're doing, I could never, even if it was someone I really disliked personally, you can't be that biased and say the guy who has the record when it comes to everything doesn't get in. I just thought it was crazy. That's really all I wanted to say. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. I think it's insane because if you don't let him in and then you have the same type of excuses and won't let Tom Brady in, for instance, stuff like that, that's completely insane in my opinion. So that's all I got to say about it.
I've been listening to a lot on this, and One, I think they did it as a bit just to see how pissed off his girlfriend would get, and if that's the case, I respect that bit because I think
I respect that too. That one aspect of it I would respect. I don't like how his girlfriend is like taken over as like almost like his manager and like chooses what he does and doesn't answer in like interviews and stuff. I do think that that's weird. Absolutely.
So I don't think that's the truth. From what I gather with everything is the process sucks. Look, I'm not trying to defend anybody. I think Bill Belichick's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, like who is? He is. I don't even think it's arguable. Like he's the greatest coach of all time.
Yes.
When you look at wins, which he's second all time, he's like second, like 2 wins from the record, which I don't know if he'll ever get. But if he decided to return for one more season, he'd get that record. Total wins, when you count in playoffs, he's first. Super Bowls, he's first. Like he's the greatest coach of all time. If he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's no such thing as a first ballot Hall of Famer. So yeah, he should be in. From my understanding, the process completely sucks in that it's not so much like a yes or no type thing, and it is a you narrow it down to 5 people, and then from those 5 people you pick 3, and from what I gather, they had their 5, and then out of the 3 he just didn't get the votes for those 3, and it went to other people who had been on the ballot longer, and it was like just kind of old timer players and stuff that I'm not too familiar with, so I can't really.
No, I understand I do completely understand what you're saying though. I'm following you 100%.
Yeah. But that's how like the process works. And so from again, what I gather is I'm sure there's some of these journalists, their voters and whatever it might be, may have had a vendetta against Belichick and may have like, oh, we should punish him for Spygate. We should punish him for Deflategate more, whatever. Like he should have to wait a year type thing. It also seems just kind of likely, again, based on what I'm gathering, that everyone just kind of thought like, oh, well, Belichick will definitely get in. So I'm going to vote for this guy to try to get him to get in. And so you've effectively like, you have enough groupthink that are not actually thinking on the same page. And you've all of a sudden now removed your vote from here to put your vote here. And now you have too many votes here and not enough votes here. And the thing is, oh, well, Belichick, even if he doesn't get in this year, like, even if you're not thinking of like, oh, well, enough people will vote him in this year, it'll be, oh, well, enough people will vote him in the coming years. So I don't need to vote for him this year. I can wait. This guy over here, he's not going to get the votes next year or the year after. Like, this is the only chance to get him in. So I'm going to vote for him this year to try to get him in this year. It seems like the process is more flawed than anything. Because I think if it was a simple yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down, like he's in. Otherwise,
Yeah.
these people need to out themselves and be like, okay, why didn't you say yes or no here?
Yeah, I completely agree, and with all of that, by the way, like, and to my understanding, it is I think they actually changed the process of it, like this year, like for how they even vote for the Hall of Fame, and because in baseball it was similar, not as egregious, but like I remember, for instance, years ago when Ken Griffey Jr. got voted into the Hall of Fame, first ballot, of course. But he got like 99% of the votes or something. There was like 1 or 2 people that didn't vote for him. And the only reason they didn't vote for him, those voters apparently said that they used their votes to vote for people that were never, like, it was their last chance of eligibility. And like Griffey was going to get in either way. So like they used their vote to try to get someone in who might not have made it otherwise, which is what you're saying, which is the same kind of line of thinking, which is an understandable line of thinking. But if the NFL's process is what you're describing, which also I have heard myself, you described it pretty much how I understand it as well. If they limit it and they kind of pigeonhole you that way into voting like that, and there's only 50 people, and if you don't get 10 of those votes in that kind of system, you're out. They need to like revise what happened and like let Bill Belichick in first ballot. Like they should just fix it, but I don't know if they can or will at this point. Also, what another problem this causes is like Belichick. Okay, let's say he doesn't get in this year, then he has to be on the ballot next year. Well, there might be a coach or a player or something like we're talking about right now that like next year is like their last year of eligibility. Now you have to use it on Belichick instead of like someone who needed it when like Belichick should have already been in. So like I just think it caused a lot of problems. And the other big issue I have with the Belichick thing is all that about he's the greatest head coach of all time in the NFL. And he's also arguably the greatest general manager of all time. Like you can get in just as a general manager. Like he's the best general manager and the best head coach and didn't get in. Like that's crazy. But I understand what you're saying. The system is flawed and it might have been more of a, I'm going to use my vote for this other person because Belichick's going to get in. And then like 10 people do that. And it's like, holy shit, we somehow didn't vote Belichick in. Like, that's crazy.
It's a flawed system. I think when it comes to the NFL Hall of Fame, and I've learned more about the NFL Hall of Fame over the past 2 days than I ever knew about it and the process and everything. It seems to me, though, with the NFL Hall of Fame, and again, this is just kind of how I'm looking at it, but I would kind of think that you you would have more people not voting, but you would just have more spots to get in, because I look at basketball and okay, with basketball there's only 5 players on the court for a team. Most teams have maybe 6 good players, and then you narrow that down, teams have 1 or 2 great Hall of Fame potential players. Hockey, you have a lot of people on the ice, but for the most part, if you're not on like the first or second line or a top pairing defenseman or a well-on starting goalie, you're not going to be you're not gonna be a Hall of Fame type player. Baseball, 9 positions. Football, there's 12 offense or 11 offense, 11 defense, and you can be like a Hall of Famer at every single position, right? So it feels like there should be more positions opened up to go into the Football Hall of Fame, because there's just more positions overall of where like, oh, this guy might be a Hall of Famer. Like there's a difference between a Hall of Fame running back and a Hall of Fame offensive tackle, but both guys should be in based on the qualifications of their position. But because spots are so limited, guys just got to wait a while, and then guys might have to wait too long, and then guys might not end up going.
Yeah, it's interesting, because also, from my understanding, it's, even though there's not a lot of spots, the barrier to entry of being a first ballot NFL Hall of Famer is a lot easier than being like a first ballot MLB Hall of Famer, for instance. Like Andrew Jones just got in I think it was his 9th year of eligibility, and him and Carlos Beltran both, coincidentally, they were both center fielders and they both went in this year. But apparently there hadn't been a center fielder inducted, I think, since Ken Griffey Jr. It was like Kirby Puckett and then Ken Griffey Jr. And it's been like that long since any center fielder even got into the Hall of Fame. And it took Andrew Jones 9 years, which is like, and he's like statistically one of the best hitting and defensive outfielders ever. And it's like, so that's just kind of my line of thinking too, is like, it's supposedly statistically easy, even though I understand what you're saying though, because there's more players on the field for the NFL. There should be more people. Part of it, honestly, and I can't speak enough to it, is it just sounds like whatever system they're using now is just completely flawed. Like if you have to like mental gymnastics yourself into picking like the 3 people or whatever it is, and somehow you leave the greatest of all time off of your list, it just doesn't. It has to be fixed. Yeah. But anyways, that's all I really had to say about it. We're both on the same page. He should have been in, but Skol Vikings, looking forward to football season again next year, even though the Super Bowl hasn't even happened yet.
Let's get into WWE.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
WWE Royal Rumble this Saturday in Saudi Arabia. 2:00 start time, so early start time for the Rumble. Second biggest event of the year for WWE. As always, a lot of intrigue when it comes to the men's and the women's Royal Rumble. Jensen, who do you have in these particular matches?
Like, who do I think are going to win the men and women's Royal Rumble matches?
Yeah.
My predictions. I'm going to go. I've thought about this and I've waffled on it quite a bit. For the women, if Bianca Belair is back, I'm going to go with her because you do her and Jade at WrestleMania. That, writes itself.
Yeah.
I'd personally like to see Jordynne Grace win, but I don't know if they'll do that just yet. I know they've kind of teased that already, her and Jade. And, luckily for Jordan, this isn't, I don't know if luckily is the right word, but Jordan has done at least 2 other Royal Rumbles, right? She's been in multiple Royal Rumble matches before. Yeah. So this isn't her, big debut in the Royal Rumble or anything like that. So it's not so I think that, but it is her debut really as part of the main roster, really being a part of the mix on SmackDown. But that said, I'm going to predict that Bianca is back, and I'm going to say that she wins to set up her and Jade at WrestleMania. And then for the men, I always choose Cody for everything, but I'm not going to because I do not think Cody's going to win as much as I would love to see him win a 3rd Royal Rumble this year. I think he'll eventually do it. By the way, is Steve Austin's I think the only one to ever win 3, if I remember correctly. Austin, I know Sean's won twice, yeah, but that's just 2.
Yeah, I think it is only Austin.
Cody's got 2. Yeah. There's probably some others with 2. Edge has 2.
Yeah, there's a few
but not
2.
3.
Yeah, but only Austin has 3.
So Cody, could be the guy to
3
to do that.
Though. 3
well,
straight.
It wouldn't be 3. It wouldn't be straight because Jey Uso won last year.
Oh yeah, I forgot Jey Uso.
Ooh, that's bad. You remember that?
No,
because if someone were to ask me what's your favorite Royal Rumble, I'm like, man, that's a toss up. The Royal Rumble heading into WrestleMania 39 or the Royal Rumble heading into WrestleMania 40. One of those 2 because Cody won both of them. Although I
legitimately forgot. Jey Uso won. I thought Cody had won 3 straight.
No, man. It came down to Jey Uso and John Cena.
Yeah, I remember it now, but
no,
obviously
I know.
I don't remember that it actually took place.
Well, there you go. As far as the men, there's my prediction, and it's a boring prediction. Obviously I want it to be Cody. If it's Cody, I'm going to be ecstatic. By the way, just for what it's worth, I'm in Greg Cherry's Royal Rumble raffle, whatever you call that. Part of the money is going to charity, which is great as well. So I'm happy to be a part of it. But I've got number 8 for the men and number 15 for the women. So those are my numbers for anyone playing along at home. Those are the numbers I'll be rooting for. So if Cody comes out number 8 in the men's Rumble, I'm really hoping it's Cody. But I'm gonna go with Roman Reigns. It's a very boring choice. I think a lot of people will probably choose Roman Reigns, and I would prefer if he chose CM Punk for WrestleMania. I would like to see them do Roman and CM Punk, and then on the men, and then sorry, go ahead. I want to get your thoughts on those, and then we can elaborate on it.
Oh, I would
Bianca and
prefer
Roman.
I would prefer if Roman chose CM Punk if he won as well. I like the Bianca pick. I do think if she's back, then that's the best choice, Bianca. Because I don't know if Jade and Vecker are going to make it to WrestleMania as champions, honestly. Jade, yes, but there's not a whole lot for her to feud with right now. And if she's not facing Bianca, there doesn't feel like a big match for her. And Vecker, she's wrestling Raquel Rodriguez on Monday, so she doesn't even have a set story that feels big right now. Everyone's kind of doing their thing in the tag division. So Bianca to set up Jade does make a lot of sense. I think Liv is also a good choice because she's been so close the past few years. And so for her to finally win seems kind of likely. Those would be my top 2, Liv and Bianca. On the men's side, they haven't done a great job like setting a whole lot up. Honestly,
They haven't promoted the show really hardly at all, it feels like, because they've had so much like going on with Saturday night's main event and stuff like in between Cena's retirement and other stuff.
Yeah, they just, this isn't the most inspiring build so far with this show. Roman, is an easy choice. I wouldn't be mad at Roman, especially if he does pick Punk. I'm actually all for that. Brock, because you can just always go with Brock. It feels like he would pick Punk as well, and then you could do like the Heyman and Punk stuff on top of that. Like, would Brock shock anybody? Honestly, like,
no.
Okay.
Especially after he came in and murked Cena. Like, it's like kind of anything's possible again with him.
Okay, like I didn't know if that was like off base with Brock or anything. Those are kind of my top two. Braun Breaker would be nice, but I don't know if they're gonna give him that main event spot. And then Drew, since Drew just won the title, Cody's kind of the only guy chasing that right now. I mean, do they trust Drew and Jacob as a WrestleMania match? Do they go with Jacob in the Rumble to set up Drew and Jacob? I don't know.
Well, so something else I've been thinking of, and Kogan, who's the dial-up for film in the chat, he actually beat me to this a little bit here, but I was going to elaborate on this. Is it possible that Sami Zayn actually wins the championship? And because like Saudi Arabia, like that's kind of the perfect place. You know, they could do it next year at WrestleMania too there. I mean, like that's also even better. But like because what I'm thinking too is, you know, maybe you go with like a 4-way match at WrestleMania where like Sami Zayn wins the title, Drew and Fatu, you know, have like claim to title matches or whatever. Cody's in the mix. You can kind of figure that out through the Elimination Chamber also with those guys. Like you can figure ways to make it make sense that all 4 guys deserve to be in the championship match. And you'd have a 4-way match similar kind of to WrestleMania 2000 with those 4 guys. You'd have Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, and Cody Rhodes.
I would be okay with Sami winning the title. I mean, Sami should have beaten Roman for the title, and Cody should have never had that chance. But I would be okay with Sami winning the title. I just don't see it. I know people have tried to talk themselves into the Saudi reasoning of like, oh, well, they're in Saudi, so do it there. I don't see it. I don't think they're gonna do that because they just put the title on Drew.
But also, if they were gonna do it, you would do that as the transition because you wouldn't want Sami beating Cody. You know what I mean? But like him beating Drew makes more sense. You know?
Yeah, I guess that 4-way match doesn't feel super inspiring either for WrestleMania. Like that doesn't feel like a WrestleMania main event to me. Of that,
McMahon in every corner.
My wife points out that they do love screwing Drew over, so it wouldn't be, I guess, too surprising. They do love screwing Drew over. They also love screwing people in their hometown over. And I know Saudi is not like Sami's hometown or anything, but he will be very much a huge babyface there, and so they can treat it as such. So. I just don't. I don't think that Sami is gonna win the title. You know, does Sami get into the Rumble? I don't know. I pitched. I've pitched kind of 2 scenarios actually that play off of each other. Gunther and AJ Styles is also taking place on this card, and it's AJ's potential retirement match. His career is on the line. Career overall, WWE career. Stay tuned. But his career is on the line. I've pitched this 2 ways of does AJ Styles win the Rumble and then lose to Gunther though? But like the Rumble is like first, and
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So like he's already in the Rumble and he wins the Rumble, but he loses to Gunther. But now he has this title shot at WrestleMania, so he has to like continue because he's got to go on and face the champion at WrestleMania. I've also
face the champion at AEW Revolution.
I've also thought that Gunther loses to Styles so AJ can continue his career, and then Gunther wins the Rumble. So those are the two scenarios that Gunther we know is in the Rumble. We don't even know if AJ's in the Rumble. Because in this scenario, like, it wouldn't make sense for Gunther and AJ to be early, and then, okay, why is AJ in the Rumble? You know, like, he's retired.
Yeah.
Even if he declared before, which he hasn't yet, but then why is he in the Rumble? That's why the Rumble would have to be earlier and the retirement match would have to be later. But I think the Rumble is probably going to headline and the retirement match is going to be earlier. So I don't think that scenario is going to quite work out. I don't fully rule out Gunther losing to AJ, but then winning the Rumble. I don't fully rule that out.
My actual prediction is AJ beating Gunther, just for the record. Okay. I do think that I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's kind of smart, depending on how they play this, because, you know, obviously you have Gunther retiring Goldberg, you have Gunther retiring Cena. The Cena thing obviously is very fresh still. But, you know, I think they've done a good job of making people really believe this is going to be it for AJ, because it seems, and it could be on the fly, like literally, you know how WWE does stuff on the fly anyways, but like, it seems like they're piping in as much like they had to do the CM Punk match right away. They had to like do, like, you know what I mean? The retirement, the Nakamura match. Like they had to, it felt like WWE was like signaling to the fans. Then Nakamura himself puts up the thing that you tweeted about, the, WWE Unreal Season 4, whatever you said about, Nakamura leaking the information because it's all part of the bigger story, basically. But I think that they've done a good job between all of that, making it really look like AJ is trying to get as much in as he can before he leaves. Plus, of course, Gunther being the career killer and that being his gimmick. I think it makes for a really cool and unexpected moment when AJ actually beats Gunther. But then later in the year, I think in a rematch, Gunther will still retire AJ Styles. Like, at the end of the day, Gunther will, like, his gimmick will continue. I think he'll eventually retire Randy Orton. I think he'll eventually retire probably a handful of other people. Like, I don't, not necessarily all this year in 2026, but I don't think the career killer thing is over for Gunther. So maybe, you know, by, you know, towards the end of the year or this summer, whenever AJ WrestleMania, whenever. I will say this though, there is something kind of poetic. Like, if AJ does retire, it's 10 years to the event that he debuted. He debuted 10 years ago at the Royal Rumble. It kind of is all full circle, but at the same time, like, part of me is like, if AJ Styles told the WWE, hey, I want 2026 to be my last year, I'm not trying to do a whole year-long Cena thing, I doubt that they're like, oh, we only want you for up till the Royal Rumble. I'm sure they would want him at WrestleMania. I'm sure he wants to do WrestleMania. Like, you know, so, but to put a bow on my whole thing here with those two, official prediction, AJ beats Gunther at Royal Rumble, but in some rematch down the line, Gunther will still retire AJ Styles later this year.
I think Gunther's winning. I'm kind of coming to grips that AJ's retiring. Maybe the Nakamura thing was to throw people off the scent, but then why would he delete it so quickly? I mean, maybe it was all part of it. I don't know. But that felt like a genuine, like, diary piece that he wrote and then posted it and didn't realize what he was actually posting, and then got told very quickly, like, yeah, you can't do that. Please delete that. And it feels like this is it for AJ. I mean, I hope it's not. You know, a lot of people have pointed out on Raw that he said WWE career, not wrestling career. And so maybe it's cope that, oh, well, will he go to AEW, or will he have, you know, another match in like TNA or something like that? I feel like that was a choice of words he consciously used to maybe get people to think that, and maybe leave the option open to himself for something like that. I also don't think he's like going to AEW or anything. Look, if he shows up, like, cool, sweet, I'm all for it. He showed at Saturday night's main event when he faced Shinsuke Nakamura, like he can still go. He's still like AJ Styles in the ring. Same with Shinsuke. I mean, that was a fantastic match. That's my favorite WWE match of the year so far.
Love those guys. Two of my favorites ever. I love those guys.
So they showed they could still go. So I'm all for if he wants to like show up in AEW. I just don't think he will. Like I truly think like he thinks his body is kind of breaking down and is kind of done. He can't do it like on a consistent night to night basis like people expect him to. I mean, I'm sure you heard the story where John Cena was talking about where John Cena was talking about like he was talking to AJ and like does he want a retirement tour and everything, and AJ apparently told Cena like no, like I'll just kind of know like my body is already just sort of kind of done, and you know I'm just giving it all I can right now. And like I believe that it feels genuine enough as genuine wrestlers can be when it comes to genuality. So yeah, this feels like it might be it for AJ.
It might, you know, I think it'd be, I mean, as a fan of AJ Styles, in all honesty, like he's definitely in my top 10 favorite wrestlers ever, maybe in my top 5. Like I would love to see him in AEW. I think it'd be awesome. But as Mamuno in our chat says, he doesn't even sign AEW belts, which is true. Like whenever like they're brought to like live events, he won't sign AEW stuff. Yeah.
Right, he's not going to while he's under WWE contract.
No, I know. Well, but still, like in AEW, for instance, like Darby Allin has been on camera signing WWE belts and stuff. Like just because it's kids handing merchandise, like they don't know the difference. A lot of them, but I've also seen AJ respond to people on
teach them better.
Fair enough. That's fair. Bad parenting, really, to blame for that. but AJ has also responded to tweets also where he's been like responded to people who said it was a bad idea for him to go to WWE or stay in WWE, and he's like, "You guys are idiots." Like I love WWE, you know, like it wasn't a dumb decision, but to be complete, like for people who may not know, and we don't have to deep dive into this, but like AEW, like AJ Styles has been WWE for the last 10 years, but a lot about AEW is like very much like he's kind of a part of that. Like him, like not physically, but like what he did on the indie scene and like him being the man outside of WWE for like close to 20 years and what they built with like the Bullet Club and him being such a big part of that and over in New Japan, all this stuff. Like he was a huge part of like why wrestling outside of WWE was so successful. And that helped like AEW like become a thing in a lot of ways. And a lot of his friends, like the Young Bucks and people that he worked with over the years, a lot of them, you know, help run AEW and stuff like that and are on AEW TV. So like AJ's DNA is kind of like in that company to some degree, but obviously he's never worked there or wrestled there. And also like, I would understand him not wanting to ruffle feathers too. Like he's had a phenomenal gig and career in the WWE. I've said it before on this show before, and I'll say it again. You could literally take his entire career before he ever was in the WWE. That's a Hall of Fame level career on like a pro wrestling Hall of Fame level. Like his indie career alone is like he'd be in a lot of people's pro wrestling Hall of Fames. But then you take that out completely, don't even count that, and just count just his 10 years in the WWE. He is a WWE Hall of Famer on just those 10 years, that body of work alone. You put that together with what he did on the indies, he can do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? Like he's legitimately one of the best ever. So I hope that he doesn't. I hope he's not done after this match. But I also think that there's something really cool about going out kind of on your own terms and before you decline. Like he knows his body better than I do. He goes out there and he has these incredible matches and he looks as good as he's ever looked. But like if in the back of his mind, like it's taken him longer to warm up and stretch and he hurts longer and he's sore after matches longer, traveling might be more of a pain in the ass and all this stuff. Like if his day to day and like if he feels like it's just time, who am I to be selfish and be like, you got to hang on longer? Like get out while you're still in your prime, while you're still the phenomenal AJ Styles. And also, like you said, don't do one of these hard, I'll never come back retirements either. Hopefully, so that, you know, because I think Cena pigeonholed himself with that too, to be completely honest. Like, I don't know why you would be so definitive about this in the world of professional wrestling, because AJ Styles, and I don't want to get into the politics of this, but I would imagine Saudi Arabia is probably going to continue to do a lot of big WWE shows and offer a lot of money on top of the money WWE already generates in general. But Saudi Arabia, especially, if AJ is like sitting around a couple years from now and he's still in good shape, and they're like, hey, we'll give you $2 million to come to a 10-minute match, like, it'd be good to have that option if you're AJ Styles, if you want to go do it. You know what I mean? So I hope he's not done for good. But, you know, he knows his body better than I do, obviously. And if he feels like it's time to go, then, like, I got to respect that.
When it comes to AJ and, you know, potentially leaving WWE, there was, like, for the debut episode of Dynamite, you know, there was talks of him being there with the Good Brothers, and then he ended up re-signing with WWE. AJ has said many times that he wants to be in WWE and be like a scout or a coach or a producer or something when he retires. I think he is like a WWE guy at this point, and that's why I just don't expect him to show up in AEW. Like, I think he's a full-on WWE guy. He's been there for a decade now. No one thought he'd be there at all. The fact that he's been there for a decade now is kind of amazing. Dial F for Film says, I credit AJ for helping me get into wrestling outside WWE. Same. Like, after, you know, WCW went under and everything, there weren't a ton of options out there. I found AJ Styles matches on ROH, and then that led to AJ Styles matches in TNA, and AJ became my favorite wrestler, you know, outside of WWE with everything. And I followed his career from then on. And then I, you know, learned that he had a cup of coffee in WCW. I was like, oh, okay. You know, he had a handful of matches there. But yeah, I've been watching this dude like many for almost his entire career, and I think a lot of people have similar stories of like, yeah, I found AJ Styles matches, whether it was TNA or ROH, or he wrestled some CZW stuff. There's like a 0-1 match against a Low Key that completely rules. Like, a lot of people discovered wrestling outside of WWE because they just stumbled upon an AJ Styles match, and because he was everywhere at that time. And then, of course, he became bigger in TNA, and then he did everything in New Japan, and then he did end up in WWE. But yeah, AJ, he probably made a lot of new fans that are still around today.
100%. And it's similar. I think Kevin Owens is in like kind of a similar boat as AJ as far as like a WWE guy, where like, you know, Kevin Owens is great friends with the Young Bucks and like has had opportunities in recent years to you know, negotiate or maybe jump ship, but he's stayed loyal and stayed with the WWE. And for one, it's obviously like that's the company you grew up as a fan of. But on top of it, for Kevin Owens, it's also even deeper because like he learned the English language by listening to JR and commentary and stuff. Like his life, there's a lot of really important things in Kevin Owens' life that are tied to the WWE. His son's name is Owen, you know, named after Owen Hart and everything. But you can also tell, like, when you see the Unreal show, one of the things I actually like about the show is little candid things that like aren't even really a part of the show. I just kind of see in the corner of the screen or whatever. And it's very noticeable to me that Kevin Owens sits at the monitor in Gorilla and watches stuff. Like, he's probably being like groomed to be one of like Triple H's guys when he's done wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, Kevin Owens will probably be a part of the WWE as a backstage guy when he's done, probably forever. He's a genius mind, and he's one of Triple H's like favorite, probably like pet projects he's ever had since he's had any real control between like what he did with Owens and NXT and his whole career up to this point. So like, you know, I could see the same kind of thing for AJ Styles. If he wants to stay involved, it's like, you know, you have a great thing going in the WWE right now, and people love you and the fans love you and your peers love you and you have respect from everybody. And by the way, Seth Rollins is the same kind of way. Like, I think Seth Rollins will be like Seth Rollins will probably be Triple H's right-hand man, like backstage when Seth Rollins is done. Like, I think Rollins is going to be one of the guys that like helps literally run the company when he's done wrestling. Like, these kind of guys, I think, have lifelong jobs in the WWE. AJ Styles, I think, would be one of those guys as well if he wants to be.
Anything else from Rumble that you want to talk about? Sammy and Drew is the other match on the card. We kind of grouped that in with with the Rumble stuff. I think Drew is winning.
I think the smart bet would be on Drew to retain, but so I'll put it this way. I think what I'm leaning towards is Drew retaining, and then you have some sort of like, I don't love the idea of triple threat matches at WrestleMania, like for titles, but they did that last year with Punk, Seth, and Roman. By the way, Seth, I meant, if he's back, I don't think he'll be back for the Royal Rumble, but
No.
if he's back in time for WrestleMania, that's gonna change a lot of things potentially too, because he'll be involved in something major with like Punk, Braun Breaker, like that mix going on there probably. That said, I think that Drew will retain. They'll do some sort of combination of him and Cody, him and Jacob Fatu, a triple threat something. That's why I'm so big on the idea of Sami Zayn being in there too, just because like I would like a 4-way match more than a triple threat personally, but I also think it's very possible that Sami Zayn could win the Royal Rumble next year, and with WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia next year, you can have a big like title chase, where Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, and Sami actually does finish his story in Saudi Arabia next year at WrestleMania in a really big moment. So I think that they'll save it for that if they're going to do that. So I'll officially take Drew McIntyre, but I would not be surprised if Sami Zayn isn't gonna win. Like if he's gonna win the title ever, it's either happening at Royal Rumble this weekend or next year at WrestleMania. Otherwise, it's not happening at all.
I think Drew's gonna win. We'll see what the future holds for Sami. Sami feels like a guy who, like, they can do it, they're just not gonna do it. And unfortunately, because I think they have the reason to do it. He has the fan support to do it. It just doesn't look like it's gonna happen. We do have a question from Cinematics who is asking you specifically.
Yeah.
With Cody and Punk being close to AJ, do you think their thoughts on AEW and why they both left might be a reason he doesn't go there?
I don't know, because I don't think Cody really badmouths AEW too much, honestly. Like, I'm sure behind the scenes he's more, blunt about certain stuff than he is like publicly in interviews. Punk, I can't speak to. I think, in all honesty, Punk's best course of action, in my opinion, would be not to talk about AEW at all, because like he has such a great thing going for himself in WWE. Like, don't even open that can of worms in any way, shape, or form. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like, you're the world champion. You're on a great run at like 40 whatever years old he is. Like, but I think AJ, because the other thing too is like, regardless of what AJ and Punk may or may not say about AEW to AJ or around AJ, it still doesn't change the fact that like Cody is still friends with the Young Bucks. Like AJ, I'd imagine, is still friends with the Young Bucks. Like, I think it's very obvious, I think, to most people involved that Punk and the Young Bucks do not get along. They don't see eye to eye. There was a lot of issues specifically with those three people mainly. So I don't think it's really fair if like, I think Punk's very biased toward the situation. And I don't think anyone else has had a blow up leaving AEW like CM Punk has. Like, Cody leaving was a very different thing. Cody's deal was basically up. They didn't take the year option. Punk was fired for cause. They're two totally different things. So, in my opinion, no, I don't think it would really weigh on AJ.
Didn't ask me, Cinematics, but I will weigh in anyway. I think your point about Kevin Owens is earlier was a very good point. And Kevin Owens had the chance to leave not too long ago, just a couple years ago. And, he posted the Rushmore picture, him and the Bucks and Adam Cole were Rushmore in our Mount Rushmore and ROH and everything. And so people thought like, oh, KO's going to leave. He's going to actually join it. And he didn't. And I don't think it had anything to do. I think Punk was still in AEW at the time, or maybe he'd just come back to WWE. Regardless, I think the bigger thing is that these people get so into the WWE system and so into they like to call it a family, and I know we joke about that of like, oh, is it a family? And then they're going to cut you after however long. Like they don't care. It's not really a family. But we have to really think of, and KO has mentioned this, and this is something I don't think enough people do talk about or do take into consideration when you think of these things. All the people behind the scenes that if you have grown to like over the last 10 years or however long you've been there, all of those type of relationships. And now, especially with these new contracts and the money and being able to take the days off when you're older. And AEW has a good schedule as well. AEW also has a much more physical style than WWE. AJ Styles is going to wrestle, once every couple of weeks and work at the pace that he wants to work at. Where if he wrestled on Dynamite, people are going to expect him to go out there and like, why aren't you having like a 5-star banger every single week type of thing? And people just don't always take that stuff into consideration, to where AJ, it might not be anything Cody or Punk says about like, yeah, I don't know if you should go over there. Cause I'm with you. I don't think like either of them really say anything unless AJ like asks for their opinion. I think it is more like AJ's just, he's part of that WWE family. He's part of that, like, I've grown to know all of these people. I've been on the road with them for the last 10 years. I have a family of my own. I'm damn near 50 at this point. Why am I going to go do and like, and I don't have that many years left. Like if he still had like 5 years or something left, then that'd be one thing. And we're going to get into Ciampa here in a second, because this will kind of prove my point of things. Like if he thought he had that much longer left, then it's like, all right, let me go take this risk. Let me go out there and see what I can do. AJ said this is going to be his last year anyway. So why go and then maybe disappoint people because it's like, oh, I'm only going to be here for a couple of matches. Do I even like want to do that type of thing? Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, because like, why would you burn that bridge at all if you're AJ Styles? If you already know this is going to be your last year, like why go to AEW just to have like a couple matches? If you were going to do that, just have those matches in the WWE. I don't think the WWE is cutting off AJ Styles at all. I think this is completely his timeline of like when he wants to be done. Yeah, AJ Styles is 48, like, which is insane. Like insane that he's in this kind of shape at 48, the best shape 48-year-old ever. I think people think he might be younger than he actually is because he still does perform at a high level, and his peers who he's kind of grouped in there with are younger than him as well. Like Samoa Joe's 2 years younger than him. Bryan Danielson, is kind of grouped in there as well. Danielson, who, I mean, he has retired, but to go back to the point of like leaving WWE, and people didn't think Danielson was going to do it when he did, because he kind of talked about it, but then when the latest contract in 2021 came up, it's like, oh, well, he needs to actually prove he's going to do it type of thing. And then he did. He showed up in AEW. Danielson was not even 40 at the time that he did that. Danielson's only 44 now. Like the people that AJ gets lumped in with are actually younger than him. He's kind of the older guy in that. And so, yeah, it's a big difference of him going now at 48 compared to Bryan Danielson, who kind of went at like 38, maybe 39. It's almost a decade difference to make that jump. Kevin Owens is 41. Tommaso Ciampa, we'll get into Ciampa now, because I think it transcends. Unless you have anything else on Royal Rumble. No, I was just gonna say that CM Punk is probably around AJ Styles' age, and he's like super gray. Like AJ doesn't look nearly as old as CM Punk. CM Punk's 47. Yeah. Well, there you go. That's to my point. CM Punk looks a lot older than AJ Styles. Right. And to the point again, but like when he went to AEW, he went when he was 41, and so or 42. And he'd been off of wrestling for 8-9 years, almost a decade. So, yeah, it big difference than again going now at 48 when you've been in this WWE system for so long, for literally a decade, and you're winding down anyway. Like it's just a huge difference. Like I don't think, let's say CM Punk never went to AEW, he just returned to, this is a major hypothetical, he just returned to wrestling in 2021. But he returned to WWE because it was a new landscape, even though at that time it really wasn't. But stick with me. He returned to wrestling in 2021, but he returned to WWE, and his contract was coming up this year. I don't think CM Punk is all of a sudden like, oh, I'm going to jump to AEW I don't think he ever goes to AEW, given his age, being in WWE for so long, being what people expect, that type of thing. Like, I think he just sticks with WWE.
You're probably right. And the last thing that I'll say is like just based on what Kogan's saying here. This was about Kevin Owens saying, if you're talking about late 2021 going into 2022, when Owens was offered the Stone Cold match at WrestleMania 38, Punk was still in AEW at that point. That is a great point that to bring up though too. I do remember that being a thing. That was probably a big part of the negotiation, was them being like, if you stay here, we're gonna give you a match at WrestleMania with Stone Cold. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to stay. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what AEW was going to offer him, they couldn't offer him Stone Cold at WrestleMania. So that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. But again, I don't think Owens would have been deterred from going to AEW just because Punk was there, just because he didn't like Punk either, though.
No.
I don't think that would have been a thing. I do believe what Owens says when he's like, I've just gotten to know the production people and the camera guy and the people I've been on the road with for however many years. And like, I'm just comfortable and it feels good. And I'm just happy here. So I'm going to stay here type of thing. All right. We're going to go to AEW Spotlight.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show. And I think it's been a run of great shows.
So on the subject of guys kind of jumping when they jumping when they need to, or jumping at a certain time and stuff, Tommaso Ciampa, who we talked about a few weeks ago, really maybe even just last week, becoming a free agent, and his options, what he wanted to do. We kind of thought that, at least I thought, that he was going to be just a WWE guy forever because he had a close relationship with Triple H. And it just seemed like, why would he leave and do anything else? Because even if like he's not the most high profile person in WWE, like he's with Gargano, he travels with Gargano and Candice. Triple H obviously likes him. He might have a job there for life as a producer or anything if he wanted to do something like that. So why would you go anywhere else? Ciampa's only 40, and 40 now is not that old. I mean, 40 makes you, he should have stayed in WWE. He'd be the world champion in a couple of years. But 40 is like not old, like now, and he says he has a decade left. So yeah, why wouldn't you jump to AEW if that's what you want to do with everything? And we saw last night, Ciampa is in AEW officially, and he will face Mark Briscoe on Saturday. But what were your thoughts when you saw Ciampa make his AEW debut last night?
First thought was, that was fast. That was we were just talking about him a week ago, and for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, we were talking about mainly the main one being, he was so linked with Triple H. I mean, arguably at NXT's absolute peak, he was the top character in the company that had maybe the most buzz in all professional wrestling at the time. And that was Triple H's brainchild. Like, he was the guy Triple H chose to be in that spot. That said, like Johnny Gargano, for instance, I don't see him leaving, and that has more to do. But then again, honestly, it's similar to how I feel about Triple H and Ciampa. But like Gargano has made it so he's so open about like Shawn Michaels is like his hero, and like he like gets to work with Shawn Michaels, and like maybe he'd be able to kind of have like a Shawn Michaels type role or work with him behind the scenes what he's done. So I don't know. And Candice obviously figures into that as well. I kind of expect Johnny and Candice to stay in the WWE, but they have plenty of friends in AEW, obviously. I mean, they're, so I was surprised, I guess, to a degree that Ciampa joined AEW, but I mean, he's a great wrestler. He's a very well-known wrestler. Well, I'm not surprised at all that AEW was interested in talking to him as fast as they could. And I'm sure Tony gave him a really good deal. He probably was like, damn, he's probably getting good money. Hopefully he'll have a good spot on the show. WWE, there was a lot of stops and starts with him. And whether it's fair or unfair, and this isn't a knock on Gargano, but Ciampa might also not want his entire like legacy to be tied to like DIY. Like, those guys never teamed together pre-WWE. They had a great run in NXT as opponents and as teammates, obviously. in NXT and then on the main roster as teammates. But, you know, that's just kind of how I feel about it. Like, it's going to depend on how they use him in AEW. But that goes for everybody. You know, them putting him right in there against Jay Briscoe. Those guys have history from Ring of Honor. And that's the other thing, too, that I need to mention about, like, him and Gargano, you know, being linked so heavily in WWE. But, you know, pre WWE for those guys, Ciampa, you know, I think, I don't know if they actually put it up. I saw YouTube was putting up like a thing, like matches of Ciampa's from years ago in Ring of Honor. You know, he had a singles run. He was actually in TNA a little bit and stuff too. He bounced around, but you know, he has like the history with guys like Mark Briscoe, you know, from years ago that they can kind of like rekindle in this. You know, there's a lot of people in AEW that he has history with. So like, there's a lot they can do with Ciampa. I actually prefer him as a singles wrestler over a tag team wrestler. And it's just going to depend on, you know, on that big AEW roster, just like anybody, like, you know, like does he come in and win the championship on Saturday? Or do you kind of like kill the momentum a little bit and have him lose? But depending on how he loses, you know, you can protect him and this and that. So like, what do you think about that? Like him being in a title match right away, do you think he like kind of has to win to like establish himself in the company? Or, you know, AEW, a lot of people lose their debuts. So it wouldn't really be like that out of the ordinary if he lost.
I would have him win. And I love Mark Briscoe. I wanted Mark Briscoe to win the TNT title. His run hasn't been great. I think part of the problem with Mark Briscoe's run is he just came off the MJF feud. And so even winning the TNT title felt like a step down. Mm-hmm. And then facing Kyle Fletcher, who just came off of a world title match, even though he was the TNT champion, felt like a step down where now he's like faced Don Callis family B team guys.
Yeah.
Like, he's been facing El Clone and Hechicero, and like they're good wrestlers, but like those dudes never win. Why would I guess El Clone like never isn't like branded as like a loser because the whole gimmick was he was a hologram clone type of thing. But Hechicero's a guy who like never wins, and like those have been kind of his matches. Like he just hasn't. It hasn't been a great reign, and I don't think that's through any fault of his own. He just hasn't been given a ton to work with. I would use Ciampa as not really a reset because it feels like they've tried to do a reset too often, but I would use Ciampa as something fresh and see what you have with him because I think he can be a really, really good heel. I mean, we all remember, I shouldn't say we all, but me and you, Jensen, remember his heel run in NXT. And when he was the champion, and he was, you know, at the time in WWE, because AEW didn't actually exist in that time. I mean, he may have been the top heel in the entire company, including main roster, because main roster heels were who, like Braun Strowman, because they were trying to do stuff with Roman,
Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin, yeah, like the main roster didn't have a whole lot of great heels at that time. Like Ciampa legitimately may have been the best heel in the entire company during that time. So I would go with Ciampa, make him a heel, and see what you got there.
Yeah, I'm not against that at all. I think he does better heel work personally as well. And, you know, I mean, and this is we don't have to get into this conversation, but this is kind of like the thing with having so many AEW titles is like, and how it gets devalued. You know, like if Ciampa came in and beat Mark Briscoe on Saturday for that championship, like that's good for Ciampa, and like they'll do something with him. Like, and I'm interested to see where they go, and I would like to see him, especially as a heel. But because there's so many titles, it's like there's no real consequence because it's like Mark Briscoe is still over, and he's still going to be in a good spot. So it's like, okay, does he just go for the international championship next, or the continental championship, or this or that? It's just like there's just too. It just feels too inconsequential, especially if you lose the title so quickly after winning it. So anyway, that's kind of like a deeper thing with AEW and their titles than like this specific situation. But, you know, either way, I think, I don't know. My gut instinct was that Mark Briscoe should retain because like for all the reasons you mentioned, but at the same time, for the reasons you mentioned for Ciampa, I think with him coming into the company, establish himself. I think it'd be really beneficial for him to win, to win his debut match. So yeah, we'll see. I was kind of surprised when they did it on Saturday also, because that's like, what time were they on Saturday? After the Rumble, I'm guessing. Yeah, so
they're on the same time.
Going head to head with the UFC back to back. We're gonna talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Well, not going back to back. Well, kind of, because it starts earlier. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know. I would have preferred if they did the debut on Dynamite. Well, I guess I was also confused. Like, Ciampa came out in his ring gear. That was kind of weird.
I think there's a possibility that Ciampa loses, and then Mark Briscoe tries to, like, handshake, show respect type of thing, and Ciampa just kind of murders him and sets up a rematch that's like a street fight or something like that. Possibly as soon as like Australia. They do it there, or Revolution, if you can hold off until Revolution, and then Ciampa wins there. I think that's possible.
I think that's very possible too. I could definitely see a series of matches from these guys, and I think we're both in agreement that Ciampa would be better served as a heel. So the faster they can get to that, the better, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's go to speaking of the UFC.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
UFC on Paramount Plus debut this past Saturday, UFC 324, and they have another show this weekend, UFC 325. But 324 is headlined by Justin Gaethje against Paddy Pimblett, which was a hell of a fight to main event the show. But I think you want to talk about kind of like the overall presentation of the show, right, Jensen?
Yeah, just a little bit of that, because last week we were talking quite a bit about the pay, and if like that would be if it'd be distributed out a little bit more from the fighters now that they signed the $7 billion deal with Paramount Plus. And to UFC's credit, they have. They haven't, the fighters are still underpaid in the grand scheme of things, don't get me wrong, but they changed the bonus structure, which is pretty sick. Now anyone who gets a finish gets 25 grand automatically on top of their fight purse. And if you're in the fight of the night or get a performance of the night, you get an initial 100,000. So like if you happen to be like the guy or the girl on the card who might get like a really quick submission, you might get performance of the night and you get your finish, you might get an additional $125,000, and you might be a fighter who makes like 30,000 or whatever normally to fight or whatever it is. Like, so this is life-changing money for these fighters. So I think that's pretty cool. Like, to all the there was a big fear of like, will this help the fighters at all, or will the UFC just continue to be greedy? And granted, once again, I can't stress it enough, I know the UFC is still taking a humongous piece of the pie. The fighters should get paid more. And pay the high level boxers are making much more than most of the UFC fighters. I totally get all of that. I get all the arguments. I totally understand. But I got to give them credit where it's due. They didn't have to give people an extra $100,000, and now they're doing that, which is, that's good. So there's that. Now, as far as oh, by the way, Dana White definitely heard the fans recently talking about how checked out he was, because now he's trying to be like really enthusiastic about the UFC and talking in interviews about how not checked out he is. Like, he's not, because like now I think he realized how lethargic he was being in recent times. So they're trying to kind of, turn that around. As far as the actual show went, it's definitely worth mentioning the Alex Hernandez versus Michael Johnson fight was scrapped from the card because of unusual betting patterns before the fight happened, which I appreciate, because I've been calling out bullshit on a lot of this stuff over the years, especially over the last year or so, when it came to fight fixing. And I'll name him by name because he's been named before and other stuff. And this is not slander. This is just speculation. This is allegedly. This is just my own personal opinion. Jason Herzog is the one I'm the most concerned about. Even when you like some of these fights, he lets these people get mauled before he calls it off. And I'm convinced he's sitting there counting punches. But that said, the actual card I thought was pretty good. The main event was fantastic. I mean, that's pretty much the main event. Kind of reminded me of like Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner, Ultimate Fighter, because from the perspective of like, I think a lot of people like during that main event were like telling their friends or on social media, like, you got to tune in and watch this fight. It's on Paramount Plus. It's only $10 or whatever. It's not $80 anymore. Like, just tune in. This is crazy. Like, so I think that they got like the exact thing that they wanted out of having Patty and Justin fight in the main event of that card. It's unfortunate, of course, that Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison didn't happen. And a big win for Sean O'Malley in the co-main event, bouncing back. He's right back there in the title mix. Might get the next title shot. Might have to wait for Marab and Jan to fight again. They'll have to see how that turns out. They got that one crazy guy that I can't remember his name, the guy who just talks mad, crazy, wild shit. Like, he did it on the Contender Series. Now he's doing it in the Octagon. The only company
on this show?
Yeah, they do with the
Josh Hokit.
Yeah, there's that guy. Like, so this is the only company in the only sport where like you could just do that, which is just wild. But he's out there saying crazy shit. So the UFC gave you a real mixed bag of entertainment, but at the end of the day, the stuff that really mattered, I think, was like the streaming was very clean. Like, it was great not having to pay $80 for the pay-per-view. The co-main event with Sean O'Malley, I think, was a big win for the UFC because like he's one of the biggest stars in the company. So him being in that mix is really good for them as a business. I think the main event was pretty much everything they could have asked for. So, and then there's a pay-per-view again, technically another numbered event this weekend. So they're coming out hot these couple weekends after, being off for like last month plus. So, I thought it was a successful debut. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I thought it was too. This was one of the rare shows that I kind of watched start to finish. Usually I just tune in for the main card, but it was Saturday night. Collision was a taped show. It started an hour earlier, which I definitely appreciated. So I had it on from the very start, and the undercard fights were good, and there was a lull kind of. The first couple of fights on the main card were, it was sort of whatever. But by the Derek Lewis fight wasn't good, but you saw what out of shape heavyweight fighting looks like, and no MMA card is complete without two out of shape heavyweight fighters going in there. The O'Malley fight was really good though, and then of course Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett was also really good. On the thing about the bonuses is, like, I appreciate that they got raised. They were still higher, like 15 years ago, and then they just dropped them to a uniform 50,000, and now raising them. It feels like a EA video game where it's like, hey, look at this new feature that we're adding to this year's game. It's like, we had this feature 10 years ago, and you quietly removed it and never said anything, and now you're acting like you're giving us something new. I do like the finishing bonus, although that should have been around forever because it would have encouraged people, way back when to go after finishes and stuff more. So it's honestly kind of a shame that it's taken until this deal to introduce something like that. And base pay is still way too low. So they did some good stuff. It's still, all right, cool. You jumped over the bar in hell. How about just like raise the bar from hell? I understand
what you're saying though. I get what you're saying. Like, but I think the way the fighters got screwed the most out of all of it over the years was them taking away their sponsorship opportunities. Oh yeah, that was that was the killer. Like, them not being able to wear Condom Depot and corn nuts and stuff on their trunks. Like, as silly as that sounds, that was where the real money was at for a lot of these fighters. Like, they were making way more on endorsements, being able to wear the brands of this stuff on their fight gear than they were making to actually fight. So ever since they've been doing those deals, sorry, go ahead.
And that's where, if you're going to do stuff like that, you got to raise fighter pay. You got to do better on bonuses. And it took them until just now to do this. I mean, they took away sponsorships a long time ago too, is they had the whole Reebok uniform. Everybody gets the same uniform type of thing. They took away the banners that they used to have that had all sponsors on there and everything. Like, yeah, they've been taking money from the fighters for a very long time. So I'm not going to give them credit for raising performance bonuses to a level that they were 15 years ago before they just dropped it to a uniform number, and introducing a finishing bonus that should have been introduced honestly from the start of MMA, certainly from the start of like the Zuffa era with everything. What'd you make of the overall like presentation? Because it took 30 minutes to get to the first fight, which I know a lot of people complained about. I was even like, did I miss something? What went wrong?
Multiple fights got pulled. There was like 3 fights that were supposed to happen that didn't. So like they were probably just
but the main card,
time.
nothing got pulled. The main card started at 9. The first fight didn't go on until like 9.
Oh, you're saying on the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
no, there was sorry. I thought you meant like, because I think the actual show started like an hour later, like the prelims started like an hour later than they had advertised.
Stuff got pulled. That's understandable.
Yeah,
I get
that's
that.
what I thought you were talking about.
No, like the main card, which started at 9,
right?
They did a bunch of like talking stuff. They did a really cool video package. I appreciated that. But then they threw it up to whoever the people at the desk were, and then let's go to this report and that report, and let's do this interview. And usually with the pay-per-views, they kind of like they do a little bit of an introduction, but then they like get into it. They certainly don't do 30 minutes of stuff before getting into the first fight.
Yeah, no, you're completely right about that. When the actual pay-per-view started at 9, they didn't actually do the first fight until like a half hour in, like you said. So I don't know why they did that. The video packages at the beginning were great. The packages that they ran, I'm with you on that as well. But they should have went right from that video package right into someone's entrance for the opening fight. I liked the Bruce Buffer like intro for the thing too. Is pretty cool how they like had him like announce the kickoff of UFC on Paramount. And one other thing I would critique is there were some fights where they ran commercial breaks during the entrances.
Oh, that was every fight but the top 2, and I was very annoyed at that. I would rather skip the pre-fight video. Like, I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see the entrances. That plays to like the aesthetic and like just the atmosphere of a UFC show, is like those entrances. I'm glad that we at least had them for the co-main event and the main event. I think that would have been a huge miss if we had to sit through commercials during that. But I think you should have the entrances for every fight, and then kind of like WWE does, because I know people get mad that there are so many commercials during WWE shows, and I agree. But WWE, they mainly play those commercials during like the video packages. And if you've been following along weekly, like I have, like the video pack, like they do a good job with the video packages, but it's not the most important thing in the world. Like you don't need to. You don't want to miss the entrances for a WWE show. I don't like missing the entrances for UFC because I think it just adds to the presentation, where the video package is I can take or leave.
Well, and I think that the entrances are especially important because of the stuff we were just talking about, where like they've taken away so much of the personality and individuality of the fighters. Like not only did they get the sponsors pulled, but at that same time when they had to switch to the fight kits that you were talking about, the uniforms, they all used to have, I mean, that's actually one of the reasons like Filthy Tom Lawler became like a meme before memes were a thing. Like he used to come out wearing like the little like wrestling like underwear trunks and stuff like when he would fight, but it made him stick out. There were people who wore the big baggy fight shorts. There were people who wore you had different looks, you wore different colors, you had different themes and stuff, but that all went away over the years with these sponsorship deals and brand deals. So like the one thing you still have as a fighter is the entrance. Like Derek Lewis, for instance, he always I didn't see the entrance because they didn't air it, but I'm assuming he normally comes out to, I think the song's called Pop Tops. Fat Pat is definitely the guy who does the rapper is Fat Pat for sure. And I think the song's called Tops Drop, but it's a really high energy entrance like that he's known for. Like if you've never seen Derek, like in this era of Paramount Plus where they're banking on creating new stars, creating new characters, especially through the main event, guys like Patty Pimblett and Justin Gaethje and stuff, Sean O'Malley, like Derek Lewis is the kind of, now granted the fight didn't deliver unfortunately,
and he's
which is a risk
and he's not,
but still. Well, but the thing with the heavyweight division is like literally anyone at any time, you knock out the right person, you're immediately right back in contention.
Right, sure.
Like
But
Derek Lewis has had the worst fight of all time against Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
And he's still out there years later doing this. But in between those shitty fights, he might knock someone. He might get 3 knockouts in a row in the first round. So it's like my point more so is whether it's Derek Lewis or any of these other guys that you're trying to build, their entrance is really all you're going to get. Like to get to know them outside of video packages, because they all are wearing the same uniforms. It's everything else is too similar. So I think the entrances are really important.
Right. When you look at the entrances, imagine if they didn't have Patty's entrance. Like Patty's entrance was, the crowd was going crazy. There was a cool aesthetic behind it with the lights. Yeah, Patty's going crazy and everything. And then like Gaethje's was completely different. He's coming out to a Garth Brooks song. And so like it's just complete like opposite ends of fighters. Like Patty, again, high energy entrance, Gaethje very focused and everything. But same thing with like Sean O'Malley. He's coming out to a Lupe Fiasco song and the crowd's like singing along with it and everything. And like you do kind of just get something out of these entrances where it tells you a little bit about the fighter. Again, more than the video packages, because the video packages, they say the same shit in those video packages. Like, oh, we know he's going to do this. I'm going to try to knock him out. I'm going to try to submit him. Like, unless it's a main event fight, like these video packages are generic. Unless it's a main event fight with some history. And even then, there isn't a whole lot to it with a lot of these video packages. Like the fighters don't say anything that they're going to say otherwise. Like it's a lot of cliches and whatnot. So having the entrance is a big thing. I mean, we talk about pro wrestling and TKO is, they have WWE and stuff. What do we hear all the time from pro wrestling trainers and producers and veterans and stuff who are like teaching rookies or people at the performance center or whatever it might be? It's like during your entrance, that first 5 seconds, the crowd has decided if they love you or hate you. So you got to make that first 5 seconds, you got to do something to wow them or to piss them off or to capture their attention. Because if you can't, they're checked out after that. And it's the same thing with UFC. Is like you come out that first 5 seconds, you can make an impression there. And the crowd can either be like, all right, I'm into this guy based on his or girl, based on their demeanor, actions, and song. Or it's like, this person seems like nothing to me.
Yeah, well, and to your point, I would be interested in what your answers would be for this, but off the top of your head, like think about like the history of fighting, whether it was like Pride, UFC, the early days, whatever. Like some of these entrances and these songs became like synonymous with these fighters. Like it was a bit like Anderson Silva, Ain't No Sunshine, DMX hits. It's like the whole vibe changes, and it's Anderson Silva coming out. Like and you look forward to that. Like it's a big part of the whole thing. Like I know people have their opinions and stuff on all this, but like Tito Ortiz, he'd come out to break stuff by Limp Bizkit when Limp Bizkit was like the biggest thing in the world. And like they do like the Randy Orton style, like the sparkler waterfalls and then the entrance ramp. And it was like a pro wrestling entrance. And, I'll never forget that kind of stuff. Vanderlei Silva would come out to Sandstorm. Like that would hit. And like, you knew Vanderlei was coming out. You were ready to see this. And then when CM Punk saw you doing this and he wanted to do it too. So he started doing it himself. But do you have any favorite? Yeah, go ahead. That's what I was gonna ask.
Chuck Liddell came out to Intro by DMX. And I absolutely like love that song. And I kind of listen to that song more and more because of Liddell's intro. And you see Liddell coming out and he's jumping up and down, high five, and the look is back in the eyes of the Iceman and everything. Like it was like, oh yeah, this is a cool like entrance right here. His was always good. Randy Couture would have when he came out to was it Back in Black when he fought Tim Sylvia. It was like, oh, this fits right here. Matt Hughes. Look, I don't
survive.
Yeah,
yep.
I don't care about country music, although I did appreciate Garth Brooks' song by Justin Gaethje. Like, but Country Boy Can't Survive hits. It's like, okay, all right, you know this is Matt Hughes coming out, and like, yeah, it gets people. And people are saying when it comes to entrance, Apollo finishing, probably don't want to act like WWE with the. It's not even acting like WWE because it's not like over the top kind of stuff. Like there's not pyro or smokers or whatever. It's just like a song and a vibe, and that's what sells a lot of this stuff. And nobody's really using like generic stock music when it comes to this. Like they're using legit songs, and I don't know, maybe that's part of the issue is they like, well, we can't air these songs, but it's pay-per-view. I guess it's now on Paramount Plus. I don't know how any of that stuff works at this point. But yeah, I do hope like moving forward we get the entrances back. Put the commercials on during the video packages.
Yeah, and that entrance I was talking about with Tito and the pyro had to have been from like 2000, like.
Oh, that was definitely, they had the ramp.
So
yeah, that was like UFC 40 against Ken Shamrock and everything. Yeah.
But they're like, when they've tried to do the over the top stuff, it usually comes off as very cheesy in the UFC. Like when Israel Adesanya tried to do the Undertaker entrance, for instance, it didn't really. I will say Colby Covington coming out to Kurt Angle's theme song is like kind of perfect because of like him being such a goofball himself and being so unserious. But like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Every now and then I'll catch a fighter coming out to like Cody Rhodes song on like the prelims or something, and I'm like, you better win this fucking fight, bro. Like, coming out to Cody's song while the prelims, you better win. But yeah, no, I'm 100% though in the camp of I think that the entrances are important. And yeah, the Paramount should fix that. Give me, like you said, give me the ads during the video packages, but let me see the entrances.
And they're doing ads like during the corner breaks as well, during the round breaks. I don't like that either. Like I don't think the corners give like the best advice in the world, but I do think it's important to like keep you engaged in the fight instead of, oh hey, here's another ad to be out there. Because like going to the corners, like I do like to listen in on what the corner has to say of, hey, I think you're down this round, you need a finish here, hey, try to do this, hey, he keeps doing this, you need to do this type of thing. Like again, it keeps you engaged into the fight of like, are the corners seeing what we are seeing, or are they giving them terrible advice? I'll never forget it was George St. Pierre against Thiago Alves, UFC 100 actually, and St. Pierre was like, oh, I think I pulled my groin, and Greg Jackson is like, hit him with your groin. And it's just like, that's not great advice or anything, but that's the type of stuff you'll hear in the corners. And so I don't love that there were ads during like the corners during the round breaks, because I would like to listen into the corners for that.
Yeah, if we didn't get that, we never would have gotten the classic, like what was his name? Oh my god, Ronda Rousey's guy, Edmund Tarverdyan,
Edmund,
I think was his name.
Yeah.
Head movement. It's just like getting kicked in the head. Like, oh man, Edmund Tarverdyan, that guy. We could do a whole podcast on just that guy. Like some of the guys who were kind of like MMA frauds, like Diego Sanchez's shaman guy that he had that falling out with. What was that guy? Joshua Fabia, I think was that guy's name. You ever see all that? Where, like Diego got like brainwashed by this dude who was like,
oh yeah,
and then like he eventually like saw the light and like sued this dude or whatever, like that, like for like ruining his whole life and career. It's just crazy. Anyways, I'm always pulling for these guys, whether I agree with them on like everything. Like these people are like putting their lives on the line literally in these cages. Like they're getting hit in the head. They're risking CTE and serious injury, literally risking death out there for like my entertainment, so that I can throw a couple bucks on an app and hope that I win some money off of what happens to them. So like I hope that they're just, I hope they're treated well, and I want them to be healthy. Speaking of, by the way, this is off topic, but I just remembered. I ever tell you, like every night before I go to sleep, I just like throw some money on some bullshit and like hope I wake up with some money in my account. Ever tell you that?
Yeah, you have. We know about your gambling addiction. Yes.
This morning I woke up to $400 when I woke up. It was great.
What'd you bet on?
Tennis.
Well, at least tennis is like a legitimate sport. Sometimes I think you're betting on like, I don't know.
Bro, I bet on everything.
Yeah,
you
do.
Yeah, dude. I've bet the worst one. I think the worst one the most ridiculous one I think was pit stop seconds to change the tires.
Yeah. Like I bet on tennis, so I'm not gonna like be like, oh, how are you betting on? Like I bet on tennis too, so it's not.
There you go. I had a five leg parlay hit on tennis overnight. I woke up and I was like, $400. Let's go. So, sometimes it works out. The money, all the money I lost over the weekend on the UFC, I've made that back now, which is nice. So it all ties together. There you go.
All right, our final topic of let's answer this first. Do you see Conor ever fighting again, or is he finished? There's talk of the White House fight. It feels like everybody wants to get that done, and so I think it'll get done. But that might be it for him. I don't know what you're getting out of Conor McGregor at this point. He hasn't fought since what, 2020?
Whatever that Poirier fight was, where you broke his leg again.
I think it was 2021. That was 5 years ago, dude. Conor's 37 now. He's lived a life over these last 5 years. I mean, even before the last 5 years, just being a fighter for as long as he was. Like, he was clearly slowing down in the Poirier fights. I mean, he lost the first Poirier fight like clean. Like, that was just a straight up loss for him. And then the second Poirier fight, okay, like, who knows? I think he was losing the first round anyway. He was looking a little bit better, but that's a pretty major injury to come off of. And now we're talking 5 years later. I just don't think you're gonna get like a Conor McGregor that people might want. Now it depends on the opponent. I mean, who's he gonna face? Is he facing?
I mean, Michael Chandler is the one that just keeps calling him out that they tried to book previously, but like,
yeah,
I feel bad for Michael Chandler kind of.
Michael Chandler is actually like a decent opponent if Conor's gonna be quote unquote back, because Chandler's actually older than Conor. He's got a lot of mileage on him. I mean, he's lost his last few fights too. Actually, no, I just looked it up. He's lost 3 straight and 5 of his last 6. So it's not like Chandler.
His only win was what? Tony Ferguson, that head
Ferguson.
kick.
Yeah. So yeah, and he lost his last fight to Patty. And Patty's good, but he also just lost to a Gaethje who was out there just like swinging on Saturday. Great fight and everything, but Patty's striking looked terrible. He threw good variety, but his overall like technical striking like just looked not great. And Gaethje's just like, yeah, you can't hurt me. I'm gonna walk you down and throw. And that's who Chandler lost to. So I actually think Conor would beat Michael Chandler if that was the fight. You throw him in there against. I think if you throw him in there against Gaethje just like walks through him and just starches him. Honestly, like you throw him in there against like Holloway, I think Holloway lights him up. Oh, I don't think there are a ton of guys that you can put against Conor. I mean, you put him in there against like any type of wrestler and he's completely fucked. So I don't think there's a ton of guys you can put in there against Conor.
Yeah, I mean, I won't believe that he's fighting until he's actually in the octagon and Bruce Buffer is like making the announcement for the fight to start. I don't know how much motivation he has to fight. I know that there's been a lot of talk about the White House. I don't think that that's going to happen for a variety of reasons. I think the main reason, honestly, being if they're going to get him, I think that they'll book him for a pay-per-view. Because the White House event there's no date for that. Like, Conor McGregor is their biggest draw. Even if he came back after all this time, he's still the biggest draw in the company. Like, he'll sell the most pay-per-view. They're not going to waste that on a card where you can't sell tickets for fans and stuff. Like, people can't attend the White House show. So, like, I don't think business-wise they would ever even do that. I think there's just a lot of talk around it.
I mean, I agree with that because, like, they would want to maximize kind of revenue when it comes to that. And it's easier to pay Conor off of that. Is like, okay, if you owe him, let's say $3 million, okay, well, part of the gate goes to him off of that. Where if you have to pay him $3 million and there's no gate, then you just have to pay $3 million, just total. Like, they have the money for it. I'm not gonna be
that Trump can just go print the money out for him and hand it to him.
So I think it more comes down to like Connor wants to fight in front of Trump, and like Connor wants to fight on the White House show, and because of that, they're just gonna have to concede to that, even though they might want him for an arena show. If Connor's like, no, I'm only doing this White House show, like, what are they gonna say? Well, I guess they could say, well, all right, well, guess you're not fighting. Then, you know, Dana will get on like, guy doesn't want to fucking fight. Like, I thought he was a fucking fighter. He clearly doesn't want to fucking fight. They've gone this long without him. It's not like they fully need him or anything, but I think they would also welcome him back. And if he wants to fight on the White House show, they'll make a room for him on the White House show. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's still possible, but I don't know. I mean, I think if the fight happens, like, I think Michael Chandler's looked like kind of a dweeb throughout this whole thing, like calling him out for all these years. To his credit, the UFC booked the fight a couple years ago, and it just didn't happen. Also funny, pile driver finisher mentioned Steven Seagal in the chat. This had to have been when I was talking about Edmund Tarverdyan and Joshua Fabia. Steven Seagal is probably the biggest fraud in all of mixed martial arts history. That we'll talk about him another day, another time. But when he was out there doing public interviews, taking credit for Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida front kick finishing people, that was like some of the funniest interviews of all time.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Like Seagal would do these interviews with like Ariel Helwani back in the day and be like, talk about how he has a zero, and well, actually they'd bring up like how he's never really actually fought anybody. They do it respectfully, but just hearing Steven Seagal play these mental gymnastics in these interviews, trying to explain how he's completely undefeated and that the tournaments and the wins he has are like they were so underground that like there's no record of them. And he started his own dojo in Asia. Like he didn't like earn like any kind of level of like MMA or of like martial arts accolades. Like he just had the money and he was a celebrity, and he went to Asia and he opened his own gyms and made people call him sensei, and does Aikido, which is a completely fake. It's like Aikido, his martial art is the equivalent of like movie stunts. It's like you run at people and like willingly flip when someone like grabs your shoulder or whatever. It's what you'd see in like a Power Rangers episode when like the Putty Patrol runs at you one after another. Like, so that's Steven Seagal. I can talk about Steven Seagal all day. I got plenty of ammo on Steven Seagal. But anyway, that's pretty much all I've got, I guess, UFC wise for today. But to answer the question, I do not think Conor McGregor will be back this year. I'd be very surprised if he ever fought again. And even if he's announced for a fight and they're promoting a fight until he's actually in that octagon, I do not believe he's fighting.
Yeah, very fair. Honestly, very fair. All right, final topic of the day.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
The Lodestone Women's Camp ran by Bailey. She put up a 16-minute kind of mini documentary on the camp. Featured a variety of people. Gabby Forza, Izzy Moreno was there. Janai Kai was there. Just a number of names were out there. Those are the top three I could just remember off the top of my head. I probably should have pulled up like who was actually fully there. Sapphire Reed was there. But yeah, Jensen, you wanted to talk about this and kind of, I assume the little mini doc.
Yeah, I honestly, the main thing was I wanted to kind of bring attention to it. I'm sure people, if you're watching this podcast, you're a wrestling fan, obviously. I would imagine you probably already know about this documentary, but if you don't, for whatever reason, I would recommend watching it. It was really good. It's over on YouTube. It's completely free. The YouTube channel, was it Bailey's personal channel? It wasn't like a WWE branded.
Yeah, no.
Maybe the Lodestone's channel.
Yeah, I think it was just a Lodestone channel. Yeah, but
because there will be future documentaries, like they tease that at the end, because they're going to be doing like a WrestleMania weekend, I think, type of thing.
Yeah, I think she's going to run another one in the near future as well, and it seems like it's going to be an actual like full on thing, and they're going to kind of continue to document journeys for various talents, through the process.
So yeah, I thought it was really well done, and the names that you mentioned are definitely standouts. Izzy Moreno especially, because for people who know that whole story, I mean, Izzy was the literal like little child in the crowd in NXT when Bayley was on her rise with like the inflatable tube men entrance and all that, and like Izzy would dress like her in the crowd, and she got brought into the ring, I believe, a couple times, like whenever Bayley won some big matches and stuff. Like she was very much like a part of Bayley's rise in NXT, this little Izzy. And all these years later, I mean, it's crazy that time has flown like this, but I mean, what I'm describing is like 10 years ago. So like, you know, now Izzy's a young adult, and she's been wrestling for years. You know, she's been involved in like Women of Wrestling and a variety of stuff over the years. But it's just cool to see like her and Bayley on screen together, like all these years later. And, you know, like Gabby Forza, I know Gabby's got a lot of buzz on the independent scene, especially. And I saw Bayley kind of like hyping up some of the women from the show on social media recently too, which is cool. I'm sure it gives them a bit of a boost as far as like the eyes on them and stuff like that. Janai Kai, you mentioned, she's been, you know, one of the better, not even just one of the better like women on the indies for a while, but one of the most unique. Like what she has going for her is she got a different kind of look, a different kind of vibe. She moves differently, and she has really, really crisp striking. She's known as the kick demon for good reason. And I remember watching her like really early in her career and wondering to myself if it was going to work out, because like that's not an easy style to do. Like even for someone like Matt Riddle, who had a UFC career, when he got into pro wrestling, when he first started, like you could tell he was really trying to take some steam off of his strikes. Like he would do like the Daniel Bryan style, you know, like kicks to the chest on the ground or whatever. And you could tell he was throwing those at like 30% because he didn't want to hurt his opponent. I think Janai Kai, like over time, has gotten like really, really good about like making it look like she's really laying, which she she might just be laying it in. I have no idea, but it looks really good. It looks really crisp. And she's done well for herself in companies like MLW. I'd imagine that when the time is right, the WWE is going to be interested. And that goes for a lot of these women. I think the WWE is going to be, this could potentially be a straight pipeline of women's talent straight into the WWE system. You had Natty Neidhart there helping with training. Maxine Dupree was there. Charlotte Flair was there. A lot of women.
John Cena. John Cena.
John Cena. Yeah. Of course. John Cena was there. Tyler Breeze was there, who like helped Bayley a lot over the years herself. So like he's been a big support. I know that they mentioned Sean Spears is a big part of that too. I don't think he was in the doc, but maybe they just didn't show him on camera. But yeah, so I mean, I would recommend it if you want to know kind of. I think that Lodestone is going to be, especially when they continue to do more of these training camps and putting their stuff on YouTube. I honestly think you're going to see a lot of the women from these documentaries, you know, not all of them. I don't know what percentage of them, but at the very least, some of them I think are going to come straight from those documentaries. The next thing you know, you're going to be seeing them on Evolve or on NXT or whatever in the WWE system.
Josh sends a super chat, says fun to see North Phoenix Diana as part of it, but Bayley Act put me on to the hyperactive tag team. Yeah, she North Phoenix had wrestled Mercedes not too long ago, and yeah, she was part of the whole camp as well. Yeah, Bianca, Lyra, Rhea, a lot of the women stopped by, and John Cena stopped by as well. So, and we can't be remiss, is like Bayley put this all together herself. Bayley paid for everything. She told people to send it in. She would pick who you know she thought could use it, or I don't know how she picked, but I'm sure she got plenty of submissions. But she paid for the lodging, she paid for the travel and everything. This was just like, if you get picked, come here and let's get some shit accomplished here. Like that takes a lot to do that, because there are plenty of seminars out there. You know, in every independent show every single week has like some type of seminar that runs before the show, right? How many flyers have we seen, Jensen, of like, hey, this person's holding a seminar this week, this person's holding a seminar, and some of them are free and some of them are like $25. Come, you know, learn from, hear advice from Ricky Steamboat and stuff. And some of them are good and some of them maybe aren't so good when it comes to this stuff. Like the fact that Bayley put together not just like a single seminar, but an entire camp with her, who has been to the top of WWE, won a Royal Rumble, won a championship at WrestleMania, won basically all of the titles and everything there is to win in WWE. Not the new titles, I guess, but before the women, the mid card titles were introduced, won all of that stuff. Like, for her to put all that together, a name who is still doing it, not somebody who, no offense to the veterans, but is not giving you advice that maybe worked 20 years ago but doesn't quite apply today. Like, she's giving you advice that does apply today because she is still very much in the thick of things. And then bringing in the people she brought in, people who are, again, still in the thick of it today, who have been to the top of WWE, literally bringing in John fucking Cena. Like, it doesn't really get much bigger than that when it comes to, okay, who do I want to get advice from in WWE? If I could pick anyone's brain, who would I want to pick? Like, I feel like John Cena would be pretty high at the top of that list for an aspiring pro wrestler. So just credit to Bayley. I know a lot of people say this. I know a lot of her peers say it, so it means a lot more than coming from me. But, like, seems like one of the most genuinely nicest person and really cares about, like, giving back and pushing the industry forward and literally putting her money where her mouth is when it comes to that. Not just like, hey, if you need advice, I'm here to do it. Like, literally going out of her way to let's get shit done.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, they make it clear in the documentary, like, Bayley came from an era where, like, there weren't a lot of, like, great female wrestlers on the indie scene. Like, she was doing really, really small shows. She came from, like, she really had to work her ass off to even get noticed by the WWE. And then, like, to be where she's at now, she's been wrestling for, like, close to 20 years, I think, throughout, like, from the beginning of her career till now, which is, I mean, incredible in itself. So yeah, like you said, the fact that she's willing to, to be, like, the financial, like, backer or whatever you call it. She's putting her money where her mouth is, like you said. Like, she's doing all this and helping a lot of women. And as you said, also, I'd imagine that a ton of women applied to be a part of this. So if Bayley chose you to be a part of it, then I think you're a part of a really special group. And I think you're going to have a lot of really big opportunities because once again, even at the absolute very least, you might make a good impression with Rhea Ripley. You might make a good impression with Charlotte Flair or Maddie Neidhart. These people who are, like, made women in the WWE. Like, sometimes all it takes to get to, like, that next step or get an opportunity is, like, the right people got eyes on you. And, like, for all you're Janai Kai, and, like, Charlotte goes to the right person backstage and is like, hey, this girl's really good and she's not signed, just saying. You know what I mean? Like, you just got it. That's how stuff happens sometimes. So I think this is a really big opportunity.
Yeah, the connections are just as important as, like, just impressing somebody. Like, if you can build some type of relationship with Elira Valkyria and she remembers you and it's like, oh yeah, I remember you from this camp. Like, you were really good. We had a good conversation. Let me tell you about this person. Maybe you should go here and talk to them and work with them. Like, who knows what that leads to off of things. Like, and so, again, to be able to connect with people in this setting can get you really far, hopefully, for a lot of these women. Of, they get, whether it's WWE, AEW, an ROH spot, NXT, Evolve, TNA, NWA, like, MLW, whatever it might be. Like, if you can get some new opportunities out of it, then then it pays off there.
Yeah, absolutely. So check out the documentary if you guys haven't seen it. And there's going to be a part 2 after, I'd imagine not long after WrestleMania, probably.
Yeah. All right, Jensen. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. Follow me on X at @FightTalk_. I think that's pretty much all I've got. Next week or the week after, sometime in the near future, we'll try to, as I said, get whoever wins the Pro Wrestling Symphony Championship on the show. If you guys missed the beginning of the show, we had Connor Casey on. Make sure to check out that interview and support Pro Wrestling Symphony out of Nashville. Support the whole independent wrestling scene. Even support our friends who are now signed, guys like Alec Price and Jordan Oliver. Very cool to see those guys in AEW. Cool to see when people move on and get big opportunities, that opens up spots for other people to step up. And, that's how this thing keeps going. And that's also why, independent companies are so important, having these promoters that can scout talent from such like an early level in their career, because that's where a lot of these people are coming from. Sure, some of them are going to come from athletic backgrounds. WWE's going to sign people because they had college, careers in other sports and stuff like that. But a lot of the future of the business is starting off in high school gyms and in bars and wrestling in front of nobody. And that's why, these promoters that book them are so valuable, to see the talent. And then hopefully those people work really, really hard and they move up and they move on, and the business just it's self-sustaining. It just keeps moving on and keeps going. So support independent professional wrestling. That's my last message, I guess.
Appreciate you as always, Jensen. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Same, Fight Talk _. Also, Royal Rumble. Shout out once again to Greg Cherry for putting together his Royal Rumble raffle again this year. So once again, for anyone following along that cares, I am number 8 for the men, number 15 for the women. So if either person wins from those squares, then I win some money. And also, I think half of the money, no matter what, goes to a charity that Greg has chosen. I believe it's to benefit people that have to deal with like domestic violence and those kind of things. So it's going to a good cause, and full transparency, if I win, I'll probably wind up donating also. I'll the money, the Royal Rumble's for a good cause, and it's my favorite match and show of the year. I love the Royal Rumble. So I look forward to this every year, and hope everyone enjoys it. Saturday is going to be awesome. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts and combat sports and pro wrestling, we got WWE Royal Rumble during the day. We've got AEW Collision at night, and we got UFC pay-per-view at night on Paramount. So, can't ask for any more than that, being a combat sports fan.
Joel and I will be back tomorrow in the weeds. We have the ITW Rumble tomorrow for people.
Oh, wait, what are you guys doing for that?
We kind of do a similar thing. We actually have all 30 spots filled. So throughout the week, people can super chat and declare for that. We've done this is our 3rd straight year doing it. People can throughout the week, people can super chat, get a spot, 30 spots available. Tomorrow we will assign numbers to whoever is in the drawing, and then if their number wins, they get the same number for the men's and the women's Rumble. And if their number wins, then they get a prize. And we've bought people stuff off of like WWE Shop, AEW Shop. We actually donated. One person wanted us to donate to Nami last year, so we did that. So yeah, we this is the 3rd year of the ITW Rumble. All the spots are filled this year, folks.
Nice.
We've filled them all up. The past years we just did it on Friday. We just did the super chats. This year we did it to start the week, and so they filled up today. We do have 3 free spots available though, so if you're in the chat tomorrow and you would like to try to claim a free spot, get in there, put it in the chat of like ITW Rumble, and then we will draw 3 names at random to get 3 of the free spots, and then we will draw numbers for everybody. So yes, ITW Rumble tomorrow. We will draw everything. Hopefully people win stuff. I mean, people will win stuff. It's not hopefully, just hopefully you in the chat, if you're here and you've declared for the Rumble, hopefully you win something. So Joel and I will be back tomorrow. He's going to force me to talk about TNA. That's unfortunate. We'll also talk about the Rumble and everything else going on this weekend. Jensen and I will be back next week talking about the Rumble, talking about the Fallout, whatever else is happening in the world of wrestling. Until then, we'll talk to you guys later on. Bye, everyone.